right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
The show must go on in Forest Park despite the damage.
And the Glen was just full of branches and trash. It's quite a mess.
How this cornerstone of the city is rebuilding just in time for one of its biggest festivals.
A few raindrops for some overnight, and finally a warmer pattern developing for the weekend ahead. What you need to know as the pattern change begins.
But first, many grapple with a difficult decision: stay or go.
We're not trying to leave our house.
After the city's color-coded notices on damaged homes, the Urban League's new option for safe shelter for storm survivors. Tonight, more than 24 families are now staying in local hotels thanks to a new effort to help storm survivors whose homes are in bad shape. Good evening, I'm Mike Bush. Kelly Jackson has the night off. The Urban League says your donations are helping more people get temporary shelter. It comes as homes across the city got notices like these indicating homes that may be unsafe. Brent Solomon is live downtown now with the growing effort to bring relief. Brent?
Well, Mike, I've learned that the very first family was placed in a downtown hotel over the weekend. Since the announcement, some 250 people have been calling in saying they want help too. The Urban League says it will continue to meet the demand as long as it possibly can.
I don't get how, something so sudden can just wipe a whole entire life away and then they're left with nothing.
When your way of life is suddenly uprooted, it can be difficult to try to now find your way.
There's other people like on Cora Avenue who are still sleeping in their homes without roofs.
5 on Your Side explained how the city isn't kicking people out of their homes, although St. Louis leaders are placing color-coded notices to inform people about a building's structural integrity. Red means it's in bad shape.
So many people were barely making it as it is and didn't have the money for home insurance. And so now they have nothing. They have nowhere to go. They have no savings.
It's why Michael McMillan with the Urban League says the group is now placing storm survivors into local hotels at no cost to them.
They then show us a copy of the red sticker where the city has said your home is uninhabitable, and then evidence that they live there in terms of a photo ID or some type of documentation that shows that that was their house. Then they come here and then we get them the information and place them in a hotel.
As of now, a family can stay for up to 2 weeks.
I think it gives them enough time to try and sort a couple things out, at least be able to talk to family out of town or make other arrangements.
While it may seem like a win-win, for some, that decision isn't so easy.
Most of the windows blew out, the chimneys fell, and we lost the back porch.
Despite a red notice on his home, Carl Chenaud says he's not going anywhere.
We're not trying to leave our house because it's worth too much money. This is a family house.
And he tells me he just got his electricity back on. Now he's working on repairing the damage. But there are many families out there who may not have that option tonight. If you know someone who could benefit from a free hotel room, the number to call is on your screen, 314-6, that number. Disregard the number I have. Look at the number that's on your screen. We're going to put that on KSDK.com for you as well. Live downtown tonight, Brent Solomon. 5 on Your Side.
And the St. Louis Board of Aldermen is proposing 2 bills that would help people displaced by the May 16th tornado. Both would expand and alter already existing programs targeting tenant support and tax relief. Board Bill 23 would increase the Impacted Tenants Fund from $160,000 to $1 million. Board Bill 24 would adjust the value of a property considered uninhabitable by natural disasters.
I think this is an opportunity from the local level with these 2 pieces of legislation and other opportunities that we can show St. Louis that this Board of Aldermen not only sees them, we understand what's going on, and we're trying from the legislative branch that we represent to help those most impacted.
The Board of Aldermen will meet again tomorrow and Friday. Bills would usually take a month to go through the city's legislative process, but a special session could expedite the process. Those bills could be passed by the end of the week. And today, Missouri Governor Mike Keogh called for a special session on Monday to, in part, give resources to storm survivors. Those resources would be available to people affected not just by the May 16th tornado. It would also be for thousands of people impacted by Missouri's other severe storms this year.
We're asking the General Assembly to appropriate $25 million in general revenue, which would be available to applicants on a first-come, first-served basis. Missourians who live in an area that has been included in the multiple requests for presidential disaster declaration would be considered for these resources.
Part of Keogh's plan would establish an income tax deduction for insurance deductibles incurred by homeowners and renters. The governor also gave a shout out to Mayor Spencer, praising her for her leadership. Things in Forest Park are slowly coming back together after the tornado brought down historic trees all over the park. It caused severe damage to parts of the zoo and Shakespeare Glen, where they hold Shakespeare in the Park every summer. Their first performance of Hamlet is tomorrow. 5 on Your Side's Laura Barczewski takes us through the recovery.
The tornado twisted through Forest Park, snapping decades-old trees and doing damage to many of the attractions, including the St. Louis Zoo. None of the animals were hurt, and they were able to reopen just 3 days after the storm.
Right now, the only thing that isn't operational is our butterfly dome. It'll be quite a while. All of those acrylic pieces are custom made, so we're still collecting the information, but we don't really have an estimated date to reopen that at the moment.
Zoo Director Michael Masick says staff were able to rescue almost all of the butterflies and get them safely to the butterfly house at the Botanical Garden.
When the tree fell onto the dome, it essentially covered the holes that were created. So most of the butterflies were contained.
They also had some damage to the cheetah habitat, which is still closed for the time being. They're still working to clear trees from there and around other parts of the zoo.
There was also some associated fence damage, so I'm guessing that might be another month or so before our cheetahs will be back on habitat.
Just down the road from the zoo here at Shakespeare Glen, the tornado tore through the stage, also brought down a tree off to the right. They've come back together because the show must go on.
It blew the whole back wall off of that set. You can see there's a huge, beautiful mural that our scenic artist Andy Cross had painted. That was in splinters on the ground behind it.
Shakespeare in the Park producing artistic director Tom Ridgely says lighting equipment was also damaged amongst other things. It was all set for their 25th anniversary season, starting with Hamlet on Wednesday. Fortunately, they only lost a day in preparations.
Matt Anderson, who heads up the crew over at Switch, and Colin O'Brien with Blank Slate, they and their teams worked really hard to get things ready in time.
Both Masick and Ridgely hope these free attractions can continue to be a bright spot in this time of need.
These plays are nourishing at the end of the day, and what we hope is that people can come and draw a little bit of strength and hopefully pleasure from it.
The best thing they could do is just come to the zoo, and instead of chainsaws, we can hear children's laughter. That's what we kind of need right now.
Reporting in St. Louis, Laura Barczewski, 5 on Your Side.
And the zoo is open from 8 to 5 tomorrow. Shakespeare in the Park has their first showing of Hamlet at 8 p.m. tomorrow. Gates open at 6:30 and it runs through June 22nd. There is still help available if you don't have a safe place to sleep tonight. 4 American Red Cross shelters are still open across the city. Those include the Friendly Temple Outreach Center, the 12th and Park Rec Center, Refresh Community Church, and Peter and Paul. You don't need any ID or proof of residence to get help. Right now, these shelters are housing more than 240 people combined. That's up 100 people when compared to this time last week. From open till closed tonight, Texas Roadhouse was sizzling steaks for support. 9 locations spread across the St. Louis area decided to hold a Dine and Donate event to help communities impacted by the recent tornado. Steakhouse workers say after seeing the destruction the storm brought down, they had to jump in and help. Normally for events like this, Roadhouse will give about 10% of its profits to charity, but tonight it's 100%.
So we've got boots on the ground out in the communities. We're talking about it with everybody that wants to listen and making sure that we get as much back to these victims as we possibly can. We're proud to be partners in the community.
All proceeds from tonight's sales will be handed over to the St. Louis Community Foundation to be given right back to St. Louis tornado survivors. If you or someone you know needs help with storm recovery, just text the word STORM to 314-425-5355 and we'll send you a helpful link. It also will list ways you can give to those who've been impacted. Next, shelter struggles with the state.
We want to make sure that we're doing everything right.
The next steps for the St. Louis County Animal Shelter after being denied a license to operate. Scammers getting smarter using AI to clone websites and con unsuspecting shoppers. How to keep your information safe when clicks can be deceiving. Then the power of a storm caught on camera. A look at this newly released video showcasing the strength of a deadly tornado.
Fortunately, the severe weather threat here in the bi-state nearly non-existent for the next few days. We are tracking the pattern change, though, that brings more of a summertime feel to the bi-state.
A 13-year-old boy is recovering in the hospital tonight after a double shooting in North St. Louis. Officers say neither of the victims were the intended target of the shooter. Police tell us the scene unfolded around 5 this evening outside a barber shop off North Florissant. Investigators say an argument between two people led to shots fired. Police say the teen and a woman in her 30s were caught in the crossfire. Both were taken to the hospital. They are both expected to live, but no suspects are in custody.
So as a police department have to do what we do best, and that's investigate this, get to the bottom of it, and find the people that are responsible, hold them accountable. That's going to be part of the investigation to find out what poor conflict resolution led to this guns being used.
This incident comes just 2 days after 2 other children were caught in the crossfire of another North City shooting. A 9-year-old died. Leaky chemicals, dead bugs, and animal waste all around the facility. That's what the Missouri Department of Agriculture found at the St. Louis County Animal Shelter. Now the facility is losing its license. 5 on your side's Andy Kroll has more on how the shelter is trying to correct course.
The latest of the St. Louis County Animal Care and Control inspections was less than 2 weeks ago. They found drain malfunctions, sanitation issues, swarms of gnats, and multiple boxes of expired meds. At the start of May, they were taking care of 185 dogs.
We will be in compliance with the Department of Agriculture.
It's only been a week since the shelter reopened after what St. Louis County Executive Sam Page called the worst parvovirus outbreak in the shelter's history.
The animal shelter is a complicated operation for sure. And we have a lot of good people there. We've had a lot of new staff that we've brought in. Even last week, we have new staff starting. And we're going to attack this head on. We'll put our resources into it.
Laura Stallard was an animal control officer at the shelter from September 2024 to April, but says she left because of burnout and what it actually was like behind closed doors.
And it's really a bummer. The staff is miserable and so frustrated and so unhappy, and they do it for they only stay for the animals.
Stallard is now even more worried about the operational and even legal ramifications of losing a license like this.
But if you could get in trouble for transporting animals without a license, then technically speaking, the ACOs couldn't transport them. So like if there was an aggressive dog or, a dog that attacked people, another dog, they could catch it, but they couldn't pick it up.
The Department of Agriculture says the county submitted a new license application on Friday. County Executive Sam Page says it's still open for adoptions. Today, the Missouri Supreme Court opened the door again to abortion bans. When voters passed Amendment 3 last November, Planned Parenthood filed a lawsuit to overturn the state's abortion ban. A Kansas City judge issued rulings that struck down the ban. The Missouri Attorney General then asked the Supreme Court to step in, and today the court ordered that Kansas City judge vacate those rulings. Attorney General Andrew Bailey is calling this a, quote, win for common sense, for basic medical safety, and for the sanctity of human life. He says the state will continue to hold abortion providers accountable. Planned Parenthood also commented on the ruling, saying, quote, at Planned Parenthood health centers across Missouri, our patients remain our North Star, and we will continue to fight for their freedom to the constitutionally protected health care they voted for. Scammers have a new weapon. They are using AI to clone legitimate websites and steal your money and personal information. Stephanie Haney verifies the warning signs that separate real deals from dangerous fakes.
As artificial intelligence improves in lots of good ways, it's also going to be used more often by bad actors. We're seeing reports of websites being cloned by AI to trick people, possibly into sending money to scammers, or maybe even sharing personal information, which can lead to identity theft. So here are a few Verify Fast facts to help you know when the website you're looking at is legitimate and when it's not. First, deep discounts are a red flag that you're not dealing with the retailer you think you are. The Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, recently shared a warning about fake websites claiming to offer Jo-Ann Fabric and craft store discounts. The FTC says if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And the best move is to check with the store directly to see what they're actually offering. Depending on the store you're trying to shop at, you might be able to do this in person or over the phone. Second, especially in the case of an online-only store, the URL of the website that you're visiting may be the best clue that you've landed on a scammer's site. Better Business Bureau Cleveland President and CEO Pamela Anson says, lookalike websites are becoming more sophisticated with the rise of AI. Scammers use legitimate company logos and make the website look as authentic as the real site. We always recommend checking the URL to verify that spelling is correct. And third, avoiding clicking on links you didn't ask for is your best defense. When you're trying to visit a website, BBB Cleveland says it's best to independently go to the website instead of clicking on a link in a social media post, text message, or email. This means typing out the URL that you know is correct or getting there from an internet search where you've confirmed the URL is what you'd expect it to be. With your Verify Fast Facts, I'm Stephanie Haney.
What would you like us to verify? Just email your questions to verify@ksdk.com. We're getting some brand new video of this month's deadly tornado, and it really captures the force. Take a look. Powerful gusts of wind just ripping apart these cars and trees. One man was trapped in his car while the storm battered down. He was able to escape, and the person who captured this video says that man is okay, but got a couple of cuts and scratches. And Scott is here with the weather impact forecast, and we know very well by now the impact a tornado can have on anything in its path.
Yeah, it's pretty dramatic for sure. And the good news is we don't have severe weather probabilities really for the next several days. So that's great news for St. Louis as the cleanup continues on the north side back towards Forest Park. Downtown looking nice tonight. We are expecting warmer weather to return as we head into the weekend, but without much of a storm chance here into early next week. What's on the radar right now? Mostly to the north and west of St. Louis, and just some rain here showing up at this hour, especially as you get out towards Truxton, Hawk Point, heading up towards Troy, and then up towards Eolia. That's moving into western portions of St. Charles County, back out towards the area around Innsbrook, and then we have a little more down to the south and southwest of St. Louis. This is part of a disturbance that's sliding through the region tonight. Again, it's a quick hit of some lighter rain, maybe a rumble of thunder in southern Missouri. We were at 76 for the high today. Our low this morning was 63. That rain moves through those showers tonight. By early tomorrow morning, unless you're getting up at 4 o'clock to start your early morning hour rush, you're going to have mainly dry roads. The rain's getting out of here by 6:30, 7 o'clock, well off to the east of St. Louis. We'll start the day close to 60. By lunchtime, we warm above 70. There's likely to be a few spot showers or spritzes around midday, perhaps early afternoon, mid 70s to upper 70s for highs. Then we wait on the next system for Thursday. And Thursday's system actually has a better chance of producing rain over a wider region that actually adds up a little more than what we'll see overnight tonight. Most of us don't get a lot tonight. As we go into Thursday, though, this is a little more widespread, and potentially you're looking at upwards of a quarter to maybe some of us getting a half an inch of rain. Don't necessarily need a whole lot of rain at this point, but the ground is starting to dry out, at least the top part of the ground. We're looking at temperatures tonight dropping to about 60 degrees in St. Louis. Tomorrow, we'll say it's the mix of clouds and sun, as most of those showers that are scattered about overnight are gone. Still could be a little spritz or sprinkle during the late morning, early afternoon, but back into the mid 70s for highs. Now, the warming trend, it's delayed a little bit by that rain chance on Thursday. Friday, we make it back into the upper 70s. Saturday and Sunday, mid 80s. And then as we head into next week, we're talking temperatures approaching that 90-degree mark. But here's the thing. We start June on Sunday. And traditionally this time of year, it's starting to get muggy and humid and kind of sticky outside.
Right.
Even though it gets really warm, it looks like for the middle of next week, the humidity levels aren't that bad.
Which makes 84 feel okay.
Yeah, 84, 88, maybe 90, but it won't feel too bad.
Yeah. All right. Scott, thanks. Frank's here with sports.
Mike, the question is, what happens more often? Diana Ross making a costume change in concert, or City SC making a coaching change? We'll have the latest and hear from a Hall of Famer on the topic. Plus, the Cardinals with another inspiring win.
Streaming late tonight on 5+. You can watch for free on your Roku, Fire, Apple TV. There's the schedule. Just search KSDK in your app store.
This 5 on Your Side St. Louis City SC coverage is sponsored by Together Credit Union.
City SC will have their 4th coach in 11 months. Contrary to what you might think, George Steinbrenner is not running the franchise. He died 15 years ago. Tonight, Olaf Melberg was fired. City 2 coach David Critchley will take over the squad. It came to the surprise of no one. City was winless in their last 11. They have 2 wins in 15 games. They're 28th out of 30 teams in the league. It's a great organization in terms of quality people, facility, and the soccer experience. But man, the product on the field, wow. Let's hear from Mr. Soccer.
A little bit too much concentration on, I think, defense. And in the process, you absorb, get fatigue, and people are running riot all over you with offense. You're not scoring goals, and you're losing games. It's not acceptable for this team that did so well in the first year. Now, everyone says, well, that was probably an aberration. Maybe it was, but the soccer has not been quality enough.
The Cardinals are quality enough. They're in Baltimore tonight. They had the lead, they lost the lead, but this team is relentless. They are now 7 games over 500 after another captivating Cardinal victory. Lars Nootbaar was in a slump. Keyword was. 3 hits tonight, including this 2-run homer, and the Birds led it 3-0 in the second inning. They're down 4-3 in the 7th, and Mason Wynn, who had 2 hits, delivers an RBI single. Victor Scott II scores. We're tied at 4. Nolan Arenado was in pain yesterday. Today, he delivered pain. A solo shot, 5-4 cards in the 8th. Then it was time for back-to-back triples. And this is the first one of Nolan Gorman's career. Jordan Walker said, I can do that also. He had yet another 2-hit game, and the Cardinals roll 7-4, 17 wins in 22 games. Game 4, Eastern Conference Final, Pacers hosting the Knicks, and Tyrese Halliburton, another magnificent game. 32 points, 15 assists, 12 boards, and 0 turnovers. Pacers win 130-121. They lead the series 3-1. Game 4, Western Conference Final. Edmonton hosting the Stars. We're tied at 1 in the second. And the Oilers will win on a goal by Corey Perry, who turned 40 years old 2 weeks ago. Oilers win 4-1. They lead the series 3-1. One of the real fun St. Louis sports stories are the Battlehawks. They are dominating and dazzling on the field, and the crowds are crazy. They have averaged about 30,000 per game. That's the good news. The bad, the rest of the league without our crowds is averaging 9,000. Yeah, that Stan Kroenke was right. Terrible football town. One of the keys to the Battlehawks season has been the smooth transition at quarterback. Max Duggan, he's been out of sight. He took over in week 5 for the injured Manny Wilkins with the Battlehawks sitting at 2-2. All he's done is win his 5 starts, and the Battlehawks now have the best record in the league. Duggan credits the makeup of the team more than anything he's done.
Learn how to deal with adversity, learn how to deal with success, failure, going up and down. I think you learn a lot about a team. And our guys have handled it well. We've been in a lot of different situations this year, and guys have handled it well. They've stuck together. Coaching staffs have done a great job of putting us in positions to be successful, and they work extremely hard. So I think just learning a lot about, you as a team, through the peaks and valleys.
Max did magnificent things at TCU, won a lot of big games, and he may win a championship here in St. Louis.
And the league will have the championship game in St. Louis. They just hope the Battlehawks are in it.
Please.
All right, Frank. A gala honoring some gentle giants is coming to the St. Louis Zoo. How much you can expect to shell out for tickets? The St. Louis Zoo's most important fundraiser of the year, Zoofari, is coming up. The zoo holds this event to support its global conservation efforts. More than 30 local restaurants and caterers will be serving up some of their signature dishes, cocktails, and mocktails. It also will feature live music, dancing, and a silent auction. This year's gala inspired by the giant Galapagos and Aldabra tortoises. Guests are encouraged to dress in their finest cocktail attire inspired by the tortoises. The gala is slated for June 20th from 7:15 to 11. It's $200 a person for zoo members and $250 for non-members. And speaking of style, one local fashion designer is making a name for himself in the industry. Logan Fluharty is a senior at Savannah College of Art. He's also a St. Louis native. His senior collection was recently featured in Vogue following its runway debut during the SCAD Fashion Show this year. That's the university's premier annual event, spotlighting some of the best designers from its school of fashion. The Vogue feature compared his tailoring to some of the best from experts in Paris and Milan. Congratulations to him. And Scott has one final check of our weather.
Yeah, we are looking at a few scattered showers rolling through. They'll be out of here before the morning rush hour. And tomorrow overall is a pretty decent day with a mix of sun and clouds back to 77. Thursday, there'll be some more rain in the area. No severe weather, no weather impact alert days. We get warmer this weekend, back into the 80s. And next week, we might have 90 for the first time this year.
It's kind of what you expect on Memorial Day weekend, but we didn't have that this year.
We didn't get even close.
No. There you have it, 5 on your side at 10. Remember, your local news and weather is always streaming on 5+. Have a great night. Stay safe.